Welcome back. Let's take you to Parliament now, where Acting Director of the National Public Prosecutions, that's Dr. Silas Ramaite, presents the NPA's annual report to Parliament's Justice Committee. This while a high-level panel considers who to replace former NPA head Shaun Abrahams with. Let's go to my colleague, and that's where we find eNCA's Lester Kiewit. Mr. Kiewit, good morning to you. So, Dr. Ramaite presents this annual report against the background that the President has now set up a panel of advisors that are going to advise him on who should replace Shaun Abrahams. How long do we expect that process to take?
Well, the President has just over a month left legally to appoint the replacement for the former NPA head, Shaun Abrahams. Silas Ramaite, essentially a caretaker NPA boss in the meantime, delivering or presenting that annual report to Parliament this morning. He was then appointed to stand in after Shaun Abrahams was removed from his spot. Now, it's a rather unusual move for the President to have appointed a high-level panel to decide on who should be the next National Prosecuting Authority head. Usually that is at the prerogative of the President on recommendation by the Justice Minister, but now the President has decided to implement this high-level panel. Will be making recommendations to him. I'm sure that Silas Ramaite's name will also probably be on that shortlist, seeing that he has been asked to stand in the meantime, effectively presenting an annual report which is kind of not responsible for the most of the last financial year. Shaun Abrahams was at the helm of the National Prosecuting Authority. Essentially, Silas Ramaite delivering an annual report which is not essentially responsible for, especially since a new permanent National Prosecuting Authority head will be appointed in just over a month's time.
We also have seen the NPA somewhat being slandered, if you like, by some of the law societies, in particular the prosecutors who work within the NPA, saying that as a result of the leadership vacuum in the NPA, the institution has become weak and there are also divisions in there. How important is it that the President appoints a permanent head of the NPA as soon as possible, because the Constitutional Court gave the President 90 days to appoint an NPA head?
That's right. If you're looking at the entire criminal justice system in South Africa with our extremely high crime rate, this obviously means that there are more cases going to court. We're seeing a vacancy rate within the National Prosecuting Authority of as much as 23%. That's a lot of prosecutors, that has lots of staff that have positions that have not been filled, and we're looking at the wheels of justice slowly grinding, and we're seeing plenty of cases being thrown out of court because of the long time that the National Prosecuting Authority is taking to prosecute them. So we are really seeing that senior prosecutors and state advocates complaining that because of the way in which the National Prosecuting Authority was run previously, seemingly for political purposes in prosecuting selective high-profile cases, this has obviously left a very high or low level of morale between staff at the National Prosecuting Authority as well as state prosecutors. Well, we've earlier spoke to the security cluster ministers, and they're saying that an effective National Prosecuting Authority is essential to help bring down South Africa's high crime rate, and that something urgently needs to be done, and that starts with appointing a permanent National Prosecuting Authority boss.
What time does that hearing start, Lester?
Well, we expect it to get underway in just over 10 minutes' time here at the National Assembly building here in Parliament. Also presenting will be Justice Minister Michael Masuta. He'll also be presenting his department's annual report to parliamentarians. Going to be quite interesting questions, I guess, from MPs asking him why he was not roped into to offer recommendations to the President on the appointment of a new National Director of Public Prosecutions, and that why the President has decided to go with this option of a high-level panel, which is widely being applauded, saying it is now a more less opaque process, that there's far more consultation in this appointment of an extremely important position, and we want to get some more clarity on the Justice Minister on where exactly he finds himself and what recommendations or suggestions he will also be giving to the President.
Yeah, very interesting step indeed that's being taken by the President here. Thank you very much, Lester Kiewit. The President deciding that he's going to appoint a panel that's going to advise him on who should replace Shaun Abrahams. Very unusual step, given that previously this has been a unilateral decision by the President. When we